Empirical rule is a topic that comes up pretty often in your exam in statistics. Let's see. A large group of 17-year-olds were asked how many hours of sleep they got on the previous night. The results were normally distributed. So we get that 17 years old and ask, well, how many hours did you sleep? And somebody said 3.5 hours. It was a tough night. Or somebody else said, oh, plenty of sleep, 12 hours. Okay. The middle 68% slept between 7.2 and 8.4 hours as shown on the diagram below. Use the empirical rule to answer part A1 and 2. So the first part we have to fill in the missing values. But before we go to that, let's talk about empirical rule. Actually, let's get that here a little bit. Let's extend it. So the idea of empirical rule is that in the very middle, we have the mean. And the mean, don't forget, this is like average. That's basically what it means. So in the context of this question, we can say average, that means how many hours on average a 17-year-old sleeps. That's basically what it is. Then we consider something that's called standard deviation. That means how much are we deviating, meaning going away from the standard. Standard being the mean. So standard deviation means how much do we go away from that mean. And we go away in both directions because some people can sleep more than average and some people can sleep less than average. So the first percentage that we are considering that is mentioned here, so if I go that one standard deviation, and let's not forget that mean and standard deviation for each situation will be different. But if we go plus one standard deviation and minus one standard deviation in both directions from the mean, then this area here, that will be that 68%. Now, if we go from the mean to standard deviation in both directions, now this area, all of that, that will be 95% of all data. And then we have one more to go. Once we go from the mean 3 standard deviation minus and 3 standard deviation plus, then all of that, so you can say it is getting really, really busy here, that is 99.7%, so almost 100%. What we have left over is 0.3% that is left over. And that will be divided evenly between, let's just mark that, highlight that, between those two little ends. Each of them will be let's write that one, then 0.15%. That will be here, that tiny bit, and that tiny here will be as well 0.15%. So not even 1%. Okay, so applying, I know, lots of scribbling, but applying that rule here. So like we said, in the middle, we have the mean. We went plus standard deviation minus standard deviation, and then we got those two values. So in order to get that one in the middle, well, I need to know, well, what's the difference? How much is in between those two? So if from 8.4 we take away 7.2, we will get 1.2. So this distance is 1.2. Now, I have to divide it evenly into two parts so that I know how much is one standard deviation. So 1.2 divided by 2 will give me 0.6. So that means from the middle, from the mean, we added 0.6 and we get 8.4. And again, on the other side, from the mean, we took away 0.6 and we got 7.2. So if we want to find, well, what was in the middle, either we add 0.6 to 7.2 or 8.4, oops, what happened here? 8.4, so that minus 0.6. Now, both of them will give us the same answer, which is 7.8. So that's the value that we are having here. Now, the next one that we have to fill in, so that goes another standard deviation. So again, from 7.2, we took our standard deviation, which we know at this stage is 0.6. So if we put that in the calculator, we get is 6.6. So the value here is 6.6. And on the other side, this direction, we added that standard deviation. So 8.4 plus our standard deviation of 0.6. And again, if we put that in the calculator, we get 9. Okay, let's have a look at that second part. Research says that a 17-year-old should get at least 9 hours of sleep each night. What percentage of this sample got at least 9 hours of sleep on the previous night? So again, we are talking who are the people. These people here got only 6.6, then this one 7.2, 7.8. These people got 9. So everybody here, so that tiny part here, those are the ones that got at least 9 or more hours of sleep. So what percentage is that? So again, from our empirical rule, we understand that what we have here, so with the 2 standard deviations, so that area now, that is 95% of all data. So that means that I have, so from 95%, so that means I have what? 5% left, isn't it? So that will be 2.5% on one side and 2.5% on the other side. So that's what we have percentage-wise in this sample, 2.5% that got that full night's sleep.